Hello guys, and thank you for watching Elite Vision Technology. Um, Today I'm gonna be going over breakdown analysis. So I'm gonna go over how to fill them out and what should be expected on a breakdown analysis sheet, and how we can use them and get the best utilization off of them. So let's get started. So first we have but as beginning, this section is to be completed by persons who witness repair and breakdowns. Name the individuals involved. So you put all the people involved, maintenance, production, whoever's involved in the breakdown. Then you want to put the date of the breakdown or when it happened. The work order number. Remember, it's important to put the work order number. So just in case we need to go back and reference something, we can just use the work order number, and all information should be there for us. And you guys should also be creating work orders every time you have a breakdown. And the reason for that is that you can record all those breakdowns in SAP and then just run all these breakdowns, and then you can pull information of knowing like how many breakdowns did we have on this piece of equipment, how many breakdowns did we had over the month, and all that good information. And then over here where it says part description, you want to put the description of the part, what it is. It's a rotted belt. They also have the SAP number, so we can just easily type that number in SAP and it'll look it up, pull that information for us. Manufacturer number, so it's a right hand 205 series belt, stainless steel, rotted belt. And then right here you want to give a small little summary of the repair and results. So I just put the 90-degree rotted belt got stuck in the cake pan and bent 7 rods, replaced 7 damaged rods with new ones, and got the production running again. Simple little answer. And right here is like first time breakdown. Yes, no, not sure. Like I said, guys can go to SAP and look at this information if you guys identify those other work orders as breakdowns. Temporary fix, yes or no. That also will let anybody know if there's any more work that needs to be done to the breakdown, or is the job completed, and we can move on. So right over here we have what part broke and what we did to observe about the part. I put that rotted belt got stuck under the cheesecake pan and bent 7 rods. Simple answer. And then right here is going to ask you, where did the breakdown occur? I usually just use the function location ID that SAP provides for me, which is something like this right here. It's just the simplest way you can do it. You have the plant number, the section, it was in production, and in that production it was in conveyor 1505, or you can always just put UP1 production room on conveyor 1505. But I like a lot of copying and pasting, so I just copy the address from SAP and just paste it on here. Pretty simple and easy, and it's just easy to understand. So then right here we put which brand and SQ was being produced, and then I put lemon cheesecake. It's important to put what product you guys were running that day, and for the reason for that is that different products can have different settings. Having different settings means that your machine is gonna be set up and is gonna be running differently than what you guys ran for chocolate cheesecake. You might be running more strokes. Your cylinders might be needing more pressure, PSIs, and all that good information. So make sure you put the lemon cheesecake, so then you can reference other breakdowns to the same product and make sure that everything looks the same. If not, then you guys can find your gaps from there. And then right over here when it says when did the breakdown occur, like I said, give a good description of when the breakdown occurred, because keeping data of that, you can start analyzing when it's happening. So it's happening during production, second shift, D shift on 12/12/17 at 10:04 p.m. That information is going to be really useful, not just because of the date, but also because of then you can start seeing that. Because I don't know, when I was a planner, I started realizing that a lot of my breakdowns came from the night shift, and that was where our new techs were. So that told me that our new technicians were still having issues and they needed to be trained a little bit more on the piece of equipment, because we were having all these breakdowns and they just couldn't troubleshoot it, or they're not PMing the piece of equipment correct. So it's important to have that data in there. And then who experienced the breakdown? Right here, just put UEP1 text, pretty much which line or department experienced this. And then for whom, line system operation that have been experienced the breakdown. So this is a little tricky question, but like I said, you can get all this information from SAP. You can, so let's say you have this broken rod and it has an SAP number. So I'm going to just go through a transaction in SAP and run that number and see where these parts were used, and then I can pull the breakdowns for those parts. So I found out that UEP1 conveyor 1402, conveyor 1505, and conveyor 1514 had similar breakdowns with that rotted belt. So that's for whom. And then how did the breakdown occur? What event led to the breakdown? So you just want to give a small little description of how it led to the breakdown. So I just put spiral cooler 2 stopped running, causing the product to jam all the way to the BP oven unloader conveyors. Conveyor 1505 was still running with product on top. One of the belt's rod was a little bent, causing it to catch under the pan and bent the rod even more, causing it to damage 6 more rods on the belt. Small little description saying what happened. How much and how often does this breakdown occur, and to what extent damage caused you loss, etc. This is another tricky question, and like I said, if you guys record this all through SAP, you can pull this information pretty quick just by putting some transactions. It's going to pull this information. So I went into SAP, and I found out, according to SAP, we had this same issue 9 times on a piece of equipment for the past 3 years. We have replaced 15 feet in the last year. Each foot is about 200. We lost 1 hour production. So I wasn't able to pull the whole cost and yield loss, but I gave production, whoever's looking at this, a good estimate of how much we lost in this breakdown and downtime. So this will be really helpful for finance, and then also that. But if you guys keep repeating a breakdown and you see that you're wasting all this money, then you guys can kind of take that to corporate and say, hey, we need a new piece of equipment because we'll be having all this money and all these breakdowns on it. And then you can show them all this documents and show them what's really going on. And that's just one way to get upgrades or a new piece of equipment to your plant. Phenomenal statement. So right here, you just want to summarize this whole, everything that you typed up here, you want to summarize it into just this little section. So what I put here, I was like, I was walking to the UEP1 line at 10 p.m. on 12/22/17 while production was running lemon cheesecake, and I noticed the spiral cooler 2 had stopped running. We had a product jam all the way to the oven unloader. All the conveyors after the oven unloader were still with product on top of the belt. I told UEP1 processing lead to remove all the product of the belt and turn off the belt. After we unjammed the spiral cooler 2, we noticed that the rod belt on conveyor 1505 had come out of the sprockets due to 7 bent rods. One of the rods got caught under a product pan and ended up damaging 7 more rods. We had to replace 7 damaged rods on the belt, and we were able to get production running again. So this is more for like management or just turnover shifts. They will come into this section. It will have all that good information for you. So now we're going to go to our second section of the breakdown analysis sheet. So right up here, this is when stuff starts to get a little tricky. This is the analysis side. So right here, you're going to put the date of the breakdown, participants, work order number, date of the breakdown started, so when this document was started, and when the document was completed. And here's going to be your first why. So for here, I have conveyor speed not set correctly on the drive to give pan spacing before going into the cooler. Oh, and I'm sorry, and I forgot. In your first why, you want to give as much, you want to put as many scenarios that you think that could cause this breakdown. Even though you know it, you just want to put as much scenarios, and I'm going to show you why. So right here I put on the first Y, I put conveyor speed not set correctly on the drive to give the pan spacing before going into the cooler, line running too fast, belt slipping, cooler running too slow for production. So there was all the scenarios I thought about at that time. So on your second Y, you're gonna get more into detail. So I went to the cooler and checked out if the cooler was running too slow, but it wasn't because it was set correctly at the same hertz. So then we're gonna go to our second Y. So I know I can cross that out. So then over here, our second Y, here's when it started getting a little tricky. Here's when you might have to like revisit that scene and probably go out there on the floor and take a look for yourself. So you roll the scenarios and you want to go on the floor and make sure that those scenarios were not the reason why you had a breakdown. So right here I still have, so right here in production, as you can see I crossed it out because I went on the production and found out that production was running less strokes than regular. So the line couldn't be the reason why, because production was running less. But I still haven't figured out this, so I put conveyor 1403, 1404, been put in manual to change the hertz on the drive to be able to run the belt faster. And I also noticed that conveyor 15 been randomly jerking, so that those are still in question. That could be the reason why the part broke. So then we go to our third Y. Right here I put the power flex. Well, I crossed out down over here this one because I found out that John repaired the jerking issue on Monday, the 12/12/17. So that could have been it. So now lead me to this reason why this could be the main cause of the breakdown. So I put the PowerFlex 40 drive had been put in manual to change the speeds on the conveyor bypassing the program. So that right there telling me is just somebody messed with the settings and now our spacing is not correct. So then we go to the fourth Y. So we found out the reason why, and that was because of conveyor 1403 and conveyor 14 had been sped up, causing the pans to have no gap when entering conveyor 1505 decline and sending them into the spiral cooler back to back without any space. One of the pans hit the probe inside the cooler, turning the cooler off and causing the jam on the conveyors before the cooler entrance. So I found out that was my whole reason why this whole breakdown occurred. So I found out that the spacing was wrong, which led to a jam inside the cooler that tripped the procs, and then the procs stopped the cooler, so then you had a jam all the way back to your conveyors, and the conveyors were not in no interlock system, so they just kept running until one broke. So then over here on your summary of the breakdown, you're pretty much this is gonna pretty much be the same as your phenomenal statement. So we can go on that one. So then right here, root cause identified. So right here, you just want to put what really much happened. So I put spiral cooler 2 stop running, causing the product to jam all the way to the BP oven alert. Conveyor 1505 had a bent rod while still in operation mode with product on top of the belt. The bent rod that was bent got caught under the pin and bent the rod even more, causing it to damage 6 more rods on the belt. And then, so pretty much all this you wrote up here, the whole point of writing all this here is to get to your proposed countermeasurements. So this is where you're gonna propose all the countermeasures that we can do to prevent this from happening. As you can see here, I put adjust speed on conveyors to have the correct spacing on the product pin before entering the cooler to prevent any product jams inside the cooler. So that was one of the reasons. That's one thing that I found, and here's my countermeasure to prevent that from happening. And the other thing was change the belt style with an interlocks radius conveyor. We had rods, and those conveyors are not meant to have product on top while still running. So I wanted to go with a flat top belt. And then my other one, well, I found out that the interlock system wasn't working, so I put interlock conveyor 1404, 1505, 1505, and 1506 with spiral cooler 2. So conveyors will stop running whenever the spiral cooler 2 stops. That was my third countermeasurement. And then have the HMI show an alert message when conveyor settings had changed from original settings. So I found out that the drives were set manually, but nobody knew because we didn't have anything to alert anybody that the settings were changed. So I wanted to put an alert on the HMI. So then over here, we're going to have standard changes required. So over here, it's pretty much the same thing as the proposed countermeasurements, but right here, you're going to put what department it falls. So right here I put installation. We need to install a new belt style, and who's going to be owner is going to be the technicians, and then the maintenance planner is going to do all the scheduling, making sure that all that gets done, and then the line manager is going to make sure that all that gets completed by this date. And then over here I put center line, and I didn't highlight this, but we will probably put create, because we need to create a sheet or something that let us know at what speeds these motors have to be running. So then line leads can know what exactly it needs to be, but we also need the technician to set it up for us. But we need the maintenance planner to set all this actions to be executed on a certain day. And then we can have the line manager to make sure this all gets done. Remember, this is owners, and then make sure that all this gets done by this date. And then over here, I put by the engineering side that we probably need to update the interlock system for conveyors 1404, 1505, and 1506 with the spiral cooler 2. So conveyor will stop running when the spiral cooler 2 stops. And it's probably going to be owned by the technicians, the maintenance planners, and then we're trying to execute it before this date. Remember. So now we can go back to the first sheet that we went. After this whole sheet is completed, you're gonna give it to your PM lead, and he's gonna discuss this during team meeting to make sure that everything, all the action plans and everything sounds good and everybody's on board. And as you can see, it's similar questions, but this is gonna be more for the core maintenance team. But I think that will be probably all. I'll show you some pictures of like the event that I have. So this is the conveyor that I was talking about in this breakdown. And then, let me see, come on. And then as you can see right here, let me see if I can zoom in. Here's the pan jamming up on one of those pans. You can see how crazy it was. It was not a fun day for me. And then let me zoom out so you guys can see the other pictures. Here's the image of those rods that got damaged. Yeah, so that's what we had to do that day. And here's the conveyor we went with instead of the rotted belt. So this is where I put the interlocks engineers to come in and give us specifications and give us all that information. Then we install the belt. And then right here you can see this is a little map that I drew of all the conveyors I want to interlock, and this is where the scene happened. So so as soon as this spiral cooler stopped, I wanted to interlock this. I wanted to stop this conveyor, and this other conveyor, and then the rest of these conveyors because they were overhead. So that's the beauty of breakdown analysis, and we put all these actions into plans, and we just didn't have any more breakdowns on that piece of equipment. So if you do this correctly, you guys will get to the root cause of any breakdown. Not just that, but save downtime, save stress and money, and so forward. But if you guys really enjoy this template and like my video, go please visit my website at elitevisiontechnology.tech. I'll be posting a link under this, but and also, like I said, if you guys like this document, I'll be uploading this document on my website so you guys can download it just in case you guys don't have a breakdown analysis sheet. This will be a really good start. Like I said, this not apply to all the companies, but you guys can take this and start with it and reapply it to whatever your guys' standard or whatever fits for you. But thanks for watching again, and hope you guys enjoy this video, and just shoot me an email or message if you guys want to see more of these videos. I am planning to post way more. Probably my next video is going to be about just breakdown analysis, kind of like just basic information of what breakdown analysis is for new technicians or for anybody. But that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.